Hello. Well, I think everybody's blood pressure is up these days, whether it's government elections, whether it's the extreme heat we've got this summer, it's July 2022, whether it's stresses at work or the economy. There's always something to bring our blood pressures up, but sometimes it's not necessarily something that we can help. It could be, a hereditary or a medical condition. So I've got for you 10 ways that hopefully we can help to bring that blood pressure down a bit. Welcome to Grey Matters. Hello there, and welcome to Grey Matters, the channel that promotes the fact that the older generation still matters and looks at issues that matter to the older generation. And blood pressure is one of those issues. The older you get, the more chances there are that your blood pressure is going to go up. Your lifestyle may become a bit more sedentary, maybe you're eating a bit more with less exercise, or it could be an underlying medical condition. But what is blood pressure? Well, put in the simplest terms, there's two measurements. There's the measurement as your heart pumps the blood around the body, and there's the measurement when your heart rests between those beats. So the systolic, which is the higher figure you get when you see a blood pressure readout, say 120 over 80. The 120 is the systolic, and that is the pressure the heart gives when it's pumping that blood through the heart and back into the body. The dystolic, or diastolic, however you like to pronounce it, is the resting heart pressure. And that's probably in some ways more important, because if your heart isn't resting sufficiently between beats, then it's going to wear out quicker. So the ideal blood pressure is around 120 over 80. And you can go up and down above that for a few degrees without really causing any problems. You get a high normal and a low normal. But when you start getting up into the 150s for the systolic, or into the hundreds for the diastolic, you need to be particularly concerned about high blood pressure. Low blood pressure, again, it's got its own problems. If your blood pressure is too low, you could end up passing out, fainting, struggling with stamina and being able to do things. So we need to look at ways that we can help bring those figures more into line with the ideal normal. And if you stick around to the end, I've got a natural way of doing that I have found to be incredible. Let's look at the first thing you can do, and that's to lose weight. Seriously. Excess weight puts more pressure on the heart. The heart has to work harder. It needs more pressure to be able to get your body to function. And exercising regularly can reduce your blood pressure to exactly the same extent as medications can. So if you can exercise rather than take medications and get the same results, that's the way to do it. And you don't even need to go pumping iron in the gym. They say about 130 minutes a day. Well, I think with our busy lifestyles, unless you are very keen on physical fitness and addicted to it, you're going to struggle to maybe do that length of time. And if you were addicted to it, your blood pressure probably wouldn't be that high anyway. I mean, walking the dog, even if you get a treadmill and walk while you're watching the telly, things like that, gentle aerobic exercise can help bring that blood pressure down. Number 2 is to reduce your sodium intake, in other words, salt. Now, we all love salt, don't we? Most of us do. It gives that bit of punch, bit of flavour to the food, which otherwise can taste a little bit bland. But of course, the sodium has a really bad effect on your heart. And it pushes your blood pressure up. If you're on heart meds, for example, heart meds or blood pressure meds, you shouldn't be putting bath salts in your bath, because it is a salt, and your body will absorb that and it will push your blood pressure up. If you've got any form of blood pressure medications, if you're using bath salts, I would stop and certainly speak to a GP before you continue using them. But you don't have to sacrifice your salt. You can get low salt, salt that is low in sodium. I use it all the time now, and they reckon it reduces the risk of heart disease and blood pressure issues by 66%. And you can't tell the difference. As far as I'm concerned, it still gives that nice bit of seasoning. So my advice to you would be to switch to low salt. Number 3 is to eat more whole foods. Now, it doesn't mean eating a whole steak or a whole chicken in one go. We're talking about things like bread, pasta, high fibre foods. They have a good effect on your blood pressure. They help to keep the arteries open, and that increases your blood flow, and that helps to keep the blood pressure down. Basically, one of the easiest ways to do it is to just cut down on processed foods. And that isn't just pot noodles and chicken sauces. It's anything that's been through processing. A lot of cured hams and things. It's better to stick to fresh produce, and it's generally cheaper. It'll probably help your purse as well. Number 4 is to eat more potassium. It's a good idea to get a blood test done with your doctor and find out what your potassium levels are. You don't want to be taking on too much potassium, but certainly as an energy boost, potassium's great. If you're feeling, if you're sort of over humid, if you're struggling with stamina, eat a banana, and that will give you an almost instant kick of potassium. But you can find potassium in other fruits, avocados, tomatoes, oranges. But if you're on blood pressure medications, avoid grapefruit. Check the instructions that come with your meds, but a lot of them will say no grapefruit. I'm not sure why. It obviously has an adverse effect on whatever the medication is that you're taking. But potassium has a good effect on bringing blood pressure down. Now, you're not going to like this one, but you need to reduce your alcohol intake. Alcohol will boost your mmHg by 1 unit for every 10 units consumed. And an average alcoholic drink has 14 units in there, and that will seriously affect your blood pressure if you are drinking. If you're getting through a couple of pints a night or a bottle of wine a night, might not seem a lot, but that is adding a huge amount of pressure to your blood pressure. The mmHg is a mercury measurement. I think it comes from when blood pressures used to be done with a stethoscope and what looks like a thermometer, and they would put the cuff on, they'd press this bulb, and you see the mercury go up the tube. No, I suspect it's something to do with that. If alcohol pushes that up 1 unit for every 10 consumed, you're going to soon push your blood pressure up if you serially drink. And also, of course, alcohol are just empty calories. They don't do anything for you. There's no benefit in them. They're just empty calories that will pile on your weight. So if you're overweight, look at your drinking habits. If you're sitting in the evening with a bottle of wine and you're knocking that back and knocking a few back a week, you're putting on weight unnecessarily. Number 6 is to stop smoking. Now, I'm not going to preach to you about the dangers of smoking and everything. If you're a smoker, you know it all, you've heard it all, and you're still doing it and probably will never change. Smoking narrows your arteries, and if the arteries are narrowed, it's going to push your blood pressure up. And it's been proven that every cigarette you smoke will spike your blood pressure. So cut down, or better still cut out. But that's down to you. Number 7 is to cut back on caffeine. We had a friend that used to drink endless cups of coffee and came to us for a day, and by the end of the day had a splitting headache because they didn't realise we had a decaffeinated coffee and they were suffering with withdrawal symptoms. It's that potent. But the advice is that take your blood pressure before you have a cup of coffee. Have your coffee, take it again, and have a look at the difference. Number 8 is to cut back on stress. And that's so easy, isn't it? This is the hardest one to deal with. It really is. If your life is stressed, your blood pressure is going to be up. You need really to try and find out what areas of your life are causing you the stress, and then try and work out a plan to help reduce that. And if you're at work, that's not going to be easy, but it's something you need to try and do. Maybe it's worth getting professional advice, and I'm not talking necessarily about a GP, but maybe an expert who deals in stress-related matters, who can give you some coping mechanisms to help you maybe bring your stress levels down a bit. One of the important things, I think, is that if you're in a 9-to-5 job and you're working 8 to 6 because you can't get your work done, there's something seriously wrong with your job for a start. But you need to really start working the hours that you're paid for. Do your 9 to 5, and at the end of the day, put your pen down and go home. And that's not easy to do. A lot of us pride ourselves on getting our work done during the day. We don't want to leave stuff unattended to come back to in the morning. Know all that. And you'll probably stress about it when you get home because it's not been done. But if this is becoming a real problem to you, then it's worth speaking to your line manager or HR or someone and say, you need to address this, because this stress is going to be having a bad effect on your blood pressure. And it's pointless taking blood pressure meds for the rest of your life if a change to your work-life balance is all you need to bring it back down again. Now, I said there was 10 things. In fact, I've got 9, not 10. But the 9th one is my little miracle. It's an amino acid, and it's completely natural. It's called arginine or arginine, however you want to pronounce it. It's available from maybe places like Boots. It's certainly available online. And it's a chemical that the body produces anyway. It's an amino acid, but it doesn't produce it in particularly big quantities. And athletes have been using this for a considerable time now because it opens up the arteries and the veins, and it allows more oxygen to get to the muscles. And if they're in training, they need that muscle build-up, and the extra oxygen helps them to do that. But it has the effect also of reducing blood pressure. It also helps as a treatment for erectile dysfunction, if that's of any interest to you. So I took some of this arginine. I bought a tub. They're in capsules, quite large capsules, and the recommended dose is 3,000 a day. I was on blood pressure, I'm on blood pressure meds, so I took half that just to see what would happen. Within 24 hours, my blood pressure was bang on 120/80. That's normal. Even with my blood pressure meds, my blood pressure was around 143/96. And that's on the high side of normal, but it came straight down. Contacted my doctor, and we agreed that I could take out one of my meds and continue with the arginine and see what happens. And what did happen was that within 5 days, my blood pressure had shot up off the scale. So I went back on that med, and to help it get the blood pressure back down again, I went on the full 3,000 of the arginine. And within a few days, it was back bang on normal. I've gone back to just the one tablet a day at 1,500, staying on my meds, but my blood pressure is now spot on virtually all the time. It's a fantastic product. And I think even before going to seek meds for your blood pressure, it's worth trying this supplement and see if it does the job for you. Better to have a natural substance like an amino acid, I think, than a chemical or cocktail of chemicals to keep your blood pressure down. And a lot of people on blood pressure meds finding they're having to take a diuretic as one of those, because removing water from the body helps to keep blood pressure down. But that then means you have these problems of either getting up in the night or having to find somewhere to go during the day when you need to pee, because that's how it gets rid of the water from your body. Give it a look, arginine, well worth doing and well worth trying. And I think it's a miracle drug. See what you think. If you've got any suggestions for reducing blood pressure, if you've tried arginine, let me know your experiences in the comments. Always pleased to hear from you, and I look forward to seeing you next time on Grey Matters. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye for now.